want you to feel, I want you to feel something crazy, crazy, amazing.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Crazy Amazing Humans podcast, where we highlight everyday humans making a positive impact in the world. I'm your host, Katrina Carlson.
And I'm Jefferson Denham. And today's episode hits especially close to home for us. We're discussing the devastating wildfires here in Los Angeles. And it seems like everyone around the world is tuned in to this topic. I've got family in Australia and Europe, and they're all glued to the TV about it. So that's why we figured we should talk about it. We're right here.
Yeah, right. And so we're going to just discuss how the fires have impacted us, those we know and love personally. We've got Roger Fishman with us here today. And we're also going to discuss the remarkable ways that the community is coming together, and my hubby Ken will come in and talk a little bit about what he did at our house. So let's just get to this. We've got Roger. Hey, so we ran into you today, and you were telling us a lot about what's going on with you, and you were up in the Palisades.
Well, I think that the thing that we should probably start off with is, what was your initial experience? Did you think it was going to be as bad as it was? Did you think it was just, I just got to get out for a day and I'll come back? I like, actually, all three of us have something to share about that. But you personally, what did you think about when it first started happening? And second question would be, when it dawned on you that this is a catastrophe.
Look, I was on a Zoom call, and my windows were closed, so I couldn't see out. And a woman who used to work with me texted me. She's like, "What are you doing about the fires? Are you evacuating?" And I'm on a call, so I don't do other business. But I was like, "It's interesting." She has a good sense of humor, but not a dark one. So I was like, "Are you? What are you talking about?" She's like, "Don't you know?" I go, "Are you joking?" She goes, "Are you joking?"
Wow.
And so I was like, "Hey guys, I need to end the conference call. There appears to be a fire. I got to go check it out." So I went out and looked out my front door, which goes east, and typical Southern California weather, blue sky, beautiful. I'm like, interesting. Looks great. I don't know. So then I go, let me just check the back, which faces west. And I opened up the door, and it was like, this is apocalyptic. This is like the end of end. Like, in your brain, everyone's obviously different. For me, I was calm. And I thought, okay, this is as horrific as it could be, and I'll be back in 5 days.
Yeah.
Right? You don't really, you
and
can't
you're
imagine.
like, I'm giving extra days for that,
right,
because I'll just, it's bad.
Yeah, but this too shall get fixed and be passed, and this happens in LA. So, your brain operates in so many levels, but the first one was like, okay, this is really bad, and I need to leave. So, got my dog, and I was like, okay, I've got to get my dog in the car, and then I've got to go pick up my son and his mother. They live in another part of town. They live in Brentwood. And as I started to drive out, I thought, I'm going to get some pictures, right? I'll just document it.
Right?
Yeah.
Photographer.
I'm going to document it. So I started going west, which is into the fire. And there was more traffic going west into the fire than there was going east.
People were trying to get home to get things.
Yeah, get their family, their kids.
So more people were coming in town than going out of town at the time that he.
Yeah, because what happens is people got alerted, and they were like, I got to get
I
home.
Get home and get my dog, or get whatever they're getting.
So it was really surprising, because so I went like a block and a half. But fires will kill you, but people panicking about fires will really kill you, right? Because it stops you from moving. And so I went about a block and a half, and I thought, like, I'm crazy, but this is dangerous, stupid. So I got my way, turned around, and I started going east. And then I called Courtney, my son's mom, and I said, look, I'm coming to get you. And Jack, we need to evacuate. Now, she's in a different part of town, in Mandeville Canyon, and she was like, I think we'll be okay. I don't really see much. I know there's an alert. And I said, look, I got a call from the fire department. They said, we must evacuate. So, long story short, we got there. My son came home from school early that day, just coincidentally. And because he was with a friend who was carpooling with, and she had to come home. So my son was like, I'll come home too. And I said, look, we need to evacuate. Let me get a place to stay. Fortunately, got a hotel room in Westwood. And we went there, where they take dogs, which is great. You have to have dogs, you have to have enough space. We checked in, and then we just watched what everyone else was living. But the traffic on Sunset, while we tried to get out of Mandeville, it was literally bumper to bumper. There's no place to move. And you could see when you looked at people that there was some panic. And then people were trying to come off on side roads and cut in. And some were quite aggressive. They're scared. So it's understandable, right? So you're like, okay, well, I have to give everyone their space, and you want to make sure you're safe and your family is safe. And so then, what should have taken us about 15 minutes to get where we were going was literally an hour.
And you were pretty on the early side, let's say?
Yeah, I was on the earlier side. We were probably,
at what time?
1:30.
1:30 on
maybe
that.
2.
On
maybe.
Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
it's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
And then when did you find out about your neighborhood? Or
I think it was on Wednesday. I knew everything was gone. So I lost my house. I rented it, but everything was in there. Like my life was in there, like a lot of people's. And fortunately, what matters the most is safe, right?
Yeah, you had
my son, his mother, our dogs, and a great community. Because I've had you all reach out. I've got friends around Los Angeles, all around the world. Everyone's like, "What can I do to help?" And they mean it. And they're like, "You want to stay with me?" I mean, so there's an outpouring of support. And even in the community, like people at my grocery store, I went in and had picked up some water, and there's a lady, she just gave me a hug, and I hugged her. Wow. And I was in a store nearby, and there were two guys in their 20s, and we were discussing what was going on. And one of them looked at me and goes, "Do you want a hug?"
Oh.
And I thought, how amazing that people don't know each other, but everyone's like, "I need to connect, and I want to, take care of each other." So, look, I feel incredibly fortunate. Like we talked about this morning. Like what matters are people that you love, your animals, stuff. You hate to lose stuff, of course, because it represents memories.
Yeah.
My grandfather, my father.
Yeah, you had stuff from all of your
things that I'll never see again, right?
This is what people are experiencing, obviously, left and right. Nobody really.
Okay.
So many people had no chance to.
Right. So everything is gone, but but only it's the stuff that's gone. As important as it is, that what matters is alive and safe, and that's what I look at. How fortunate. I mean, for all of us to be here, be able to discuss it, and it's brutal and it's painful, and there's sadness and there's grief and there's tears, and life is amazing that we can be here to discuss it. Right? How fortunate that we can be in the position to say what are the lessons that we're going to learn, what are the gifts really that are from this, like what do we want this to mean to us? How is it going to change us, hopefully for the better, for whatever time we have left on this planet? So again, I keep coming back to the word fortunate and having gratitude. I really, really mean it. Like I feel really lucky about that.
Our daughter Mackenzie had planned to come home early because she had an interview, so she had landed around 7:30 on Tuesday night. Just out of coincidence, we were still not scheduled to come home till Thursday, and so we had to lean on her to kind of help evacuate some things. It was interesting. It is interesting when you're asked, when you're thinking to yourself, what do I take? Because yes, I have like hard drives of my former albums and things like that I know I would want to take back in the day. And then other things that are more recent, again, music things. But, basically came down to our wedding album and the baby's albums and things that you can't really replace. And we don't really have those photos because our first kids were sort of before the digital age. And so those kinds of things really were the things we took. And we're like, I guess, take out some of the valuables that are easy. And then those are the things. And it was so hard. And my heart really goes out to people who literally couldn't get anything. Like we saw that. Did you see the reunion of the guy with the dog?
Yes.
That went viral. That was amazing. And you can, things like that. People looking for, I have friends saying, can you get in and I need to get in and see if we can find our pets, And then we have coyotes right now just roaming our neighborhood because they're all displaced. So there's so much wildlife that's been displaced. I mean, today I saw 3 coyotes right here. Yeah, absolutely. So they're just walking the streets. They are like kind of in a daze too, wondering where am I going to get my food and my drink. They don't live here. And so, with that, and then Ken flew home the next day immediately. And then it became the looting. We'd heard Tuesday night houses were looted already in our neighborhood, 6 houses down. And so then that's when Ken got here and he was like, I don't think I can sleep because it's really bad. And our daughter was out front, spraying the hose on our front lawn. And she said she was staring down people. She could see people that were casing the neighborhood, she was sure. And she said, I was so defending the castle. She goes, I was just like, you are not getting in here. And this is our sweet Mackenzie, really being, tough out front, because we were creating a presence as well. And then creating a presence for all of our neighbors. So Ken was patrolling the whole neighborhood that first night and caught a couple looters, as you may have heard, and with a flashlight. That's what he had to defend himself. I then got online and started looking up bulletproof vests, because I'm like, I'm not comfortable with my husband out there confronting people who are looting at 2 a.m. But he was really fortunate, because there were already some people patrolling, because they knew the night before they'd been looted. Not a lot. The next night, we got a lot more people. And then the National Guard came in, and it became a very different situation. And it just took too long for this town to mobilize, which is why so many terrible things happened to so many
And I
people.
think a lot of folks, if you're watching this, hearing this, and you don't live in Los Angeles, you might be curious, what's it like to actually be in the epicenter of something like this? Now, I have family who have lived through hurricanes from the Midwest, tornadoes. We have earthquakes, bad ones out here. And so when they're happening, God bless all you all who are reaching out to us and saying, are you okay?
And you realize that wherever you are, you have your own community, anywhere in the world. And there's a beauty in how we stay connected to that community. And it's simple as, how are you? Asking a question about someone's life, because this makes us feel part of something larger than ourselves, and it makes us feel safe, right? And then this happens, and I think that's what undermines all of that, which is, where are you safe?
I did want to say that, so it's not all dire, and as I alluded to a little bit earlier, there are people showing up in a big way. Lots of, from the government. FEMA, by the way, is doing a tremendous job.
Yeah,
You were saying you had a friend.
my friend said that it was amazing. I spoke with her yesterday, and she said she'd gotten a call from FEMA. She goes, I can't imagine how many, people have applied, and, she got a call and they said, where are you? And I said, I'm in this hotel down in Manhattan Beach. And they said, okay, well, don't pay your bill. We're paying your bill. She said, well, I can pay it and you can reimburse. No, we will pay your bill. Just leave it. Just things like that. You've probably heard so many things
there's been so much goodwill amongst the community. People are trying to support each other. Right. I think the government really does try to do their best. I mean, the federal government, I think, is honestly, it's a godsend. And as much as people may complain about it, they come in and they're like, okay, we'll help. Look, even in the state, Cal Fire is coming to help LAFD, right? So there's a lot of positive stuff. So I think we have to always start with what is really good, and there's a lot of good.
And that's, I mean, like you said, there's going to be plenty of time to debrief and examine everything. What can we do better? But right now, let's pivot, if we may, and look at what people are doing that's good. Starting from FEMA, which is on the big level, but right here.
Yeah, like local people are donating supplies. I had a friend, because we have a few people staying with us who are out of their homes, don't have their homes anymore. And, I'm going to bring shaving kits. It's just a friend of mine. And then, of course, the volunteer places people are volunteering, they were too full. Like, people couldn't even volunteer. I tried to go somewhere and they're saying, you know what, we don't have any openings today. And there are definitely openings, but, it's amazing. And some of the donation centers, they said, hold off. There's too many donations. So I think everyone's heard these things, and it's quite amazing. People are really mobilizing to try to help people.
And look, you walk into some of these stores and they hear what's going on, and they just like, how do we help you? And they give you a discount without being asked. Because like, it's not much. And they'll say, it's not much, but we want to do something. Yeah. There's a coffee shop nearby where I saw you today, and I walked in, they're like, what can we do for you? This is on us. And they don't have any business. They're clearly losing money. Yeah. But they understand the importance of community. So I drive from Westwood to Brentwood because I like the people. I like the sense of home. I can get coffee where I'm staying, right? But I want to come and I want to be part of something and feel, honestly, warmth and caring.
The community. Right? It's really important.
Right. So, and I think this is where we lean on each other. And I think there's a lot of goodness that's coming out under horrific conditions, but it does talk about a lot of the beauty of humanity.
The common, yes. And this is the beauty, too, of a tragedy, is that our empathy muscle just seems to be exercised in a big time way. And so we're like thinking, you and I are the same. This could happen to me, and I can picture this, how you might be feeling. How can I help alleviate your suffering? I had my mother-in-law is 94, and she had brothers in World War II, right? And after the war, one of her brothers told her once something kind of strange, but I'm going to lay it on you guys. He says to her, Mary, you know what? I think I missed the war. And she says, people were just showing up for each other. I don't miss the horrible death counts, but the spirit that we're all in this together, and this is a struggle.
Yeah.
And I see you're going to put your shoulder next to my shoulder. I know growing up in Chicago, we have massive, no surprise here, massive snow. And people who could get out to the stores would go shopping for those that couldn't. We all saw we were in it together. Ken, come on in.
So we went in yesterday, and Katrina put this together with friends of ours that lost their home in the Palisades. And we have one of the family members here staying at our house. So we've opened up the house to her and trying to take care of her. But I went back and was able to walk up their front steps, and this individual said, please just give the magnolia tree a big hug for me, because we raised our kids there, we had a swing there, and it needs love. So I went up and gave it a hug, and I FaceTimed her and said, here I am, and she just wept as I hugged the magnolia tree. And I walked up these red brick steps. Well, of course there's basically nothing there, one little bit of a wall, and then the chimney, which is it's haunting when you go up there and see that. Right at the foot of the steps, the landing where the porch was, and the front door was 2 menorahs. And she just wept. And these menorahs were inside and on a shelf, but the shelf fell, and they fell right out the front door. And it was like a mezuzah welcoming us to this home, And I was with Philip Amoyles. We have great images of this and footage of this, and he got all caught up in it, and she just wept because there was her home, and these menorahs greeting us. And the only thing that she really wanted, when she didn't think those menorahs would be available, she wanted to get a Buddha that her former husband, who died 12 years ago, the only thing they had left, all his paintings and the photographs of him and everything that he died 12, 13 years ago, were gone. But the only thing that she thought would be there was this Buddha that represented him to the... Yeah. And so it was in the backyard, and I went out and rummaged through, and I found this Buddha, and she just wept. We brought it home and reunited the family with it, and that's a mitzvah. That's why we do it, and but taking nothing away from the pain and agony. I mean, it's staggering. It's massive, the devastation and destruction that's up there. It's not unlike Beirut or Gaza, or there's just an absolute, it's incomprehensible. It's hard to wrap one's head around. You will see tomorrow, and it's not like this home is spared there, this home is there in the Alphabet Streets where you are. It's just torched. The whole thing was just level. There was nothing except a few bits of a wall, like the entryway is there, but other than that, it's gone. So my heart goes out to you, to all the families. You have a great attitude about it, and that's you. And that's why we wanted to have you on here, because we know that you see beyond this. This is not an end. This is, in many ways, a beginning, and it should provide. Rebirth. It's a rebirth. It's a phoenix. So that's why we wanted to have you on, and I'm sorry I didn't get to recover your grandfather's cash box till.
But we're excited to hear if you find it, if and when you find it. You're going to find it.
Yeah, no, I'm
convinced
we will.
For sure. It just needs a little more digging.
So Katrina and I would love to have more conversations like this coming up. So this is a different kind of episode, certainly. But to wrap it up, we just had another guest he does a cool thing on his own podcast, which is like closing arguments. What I'd love to hear from all of us is just a last thought, or what is something that you just would really like to say and make sure it gets heard at this moment for anybody who might be listening, either caring from afar or maybe even suffering right here in this vicinity. So Roger, if you don't mind me starting with you.
big question.
It is.
And
I can go before you because I
Sure.
know
Oh, okay.
that, and I was just there, so and I didn't hear the rest of the conversation, but I could just say that when this happened, was like everyone else who was on the verge of being evacuated or had been evacuated or lost a home, and I was gutted, and I thought, this is an end. This is an end, and it's going to take a generation. I said that, a generation to rebuild. When I was up at Roger's home yesterday, and I walked through the front door, what was the front door, and looked out to the street, and I saw some trees that were still there, and I saw some birth, some possibilities, and I got filled with hope.
Yeah.
And so through all of this devastation and destruction and pain and suffering, there can be rebirth and there can be hope. And I saw hope yesterday. I truly did. And I thought, this place can be rebuilt. It can be the beautiful Palisades that we know and love, this community that is near and dear to our hearts. And so I was filled yesterday with hope. And I came back and I shared that. And because I was like, oh my gosh, people don't understand. The infrastructure is destroyed. People don't understand that you have to get all this hazardous material out of here now. Where are you going to take it? You have to go through the permitting process, the supply chain. Oh my God, it's overwhelming. FEMA, and then I went, wait a minute. Ultimately, humankinds are resilient. And we can overcome, and we know they will. And I feel, especially with people like this on the front lines, wanting to rebuild, wanting to get life back to the way it was, and to create that sense of community, not only for Roger, but for Jack, your son, and for other future generations.
Well
That's
said.
my closing argument.
Yeah, well said.
Nice.
So are you ready, Roger? Should we come back to you?
Look, my approach to this is pretty consistent with my approach to everything has been. Are the people that I love and care about okay? Right? Are they safe mentally and physically? And yes, economically. And do we all have a connection and a network to support each other? And if we do, which I fortunately do, I think that's what life is all about. And I acknowledge that it hurts a lot. Right? To lose physical memories of multiple generations that you'll never get back. It's brutal, right? And there's a lot of sorrow in that and grief, right? There's the death of history and the death of memories from a physical sense, because we can't remember everything. Like a physical item actually helps trigger a memory, brings it back to life. So the question is, what happens when the death of the physical item goes? In a way, there's what will bring back that memory, and the answer may be maybe nothing. I don't know. But what I do know, and I believe this completely, that I'm incredibly fortunate. I'm here with you all, right? I have my family safe. So many people have reached out, and I know that that's what life's about. If something happened to people I love, I would be broken and destroyed, right? But what got broken and destroyed aren't the people I care about and I love. It was the stuff and the items that represent people that I love that are no longer here. They will always be with me. Not the same way, I accept that. So I'm not trying to gloss over it. But what matters is alive, and what matters is still vibrant, and what matters is how we want to see the world and how we want to live in it. And I feel incredibly, and I keep saying it, like blessed that you would go to look for stuff from me, that you guys would come have coffee with me, right? That people genuinely care. It's not just like, hey, what can I do for you? They go, tell me, whatever it is, whenever you need it, right? Yeah. And so when I see my son, every moment I'm like, I just love him more deeply, because now I'm learning him differently. He's learning me differently when we hug each other, or we cry about something together, or we laugh about something. It takes the vibrancy, right? It literally goes through your soul. You're like, oh, I knew this was what it was all about. This is literally what it's all about. Because this is all that kind of exists anymore. Yeah. So I think we come back to the basics, and the fundamentals, whether we're talking about the government, we talk about anything in life, you have to come back and say, what matters most? And what matters most is alive, healthy, and will continue to grow, and we have to move forward.
Yeah.
Wow, very well said.
Now that's a closing argument.
I will say that it definitely distills things down to what is really important in life, what really matters. And it's true that when we were thinking about what to take out, it just became very little, actually, because ultimately it's like, how important is that guitar? Well, you know, we've got our people, and we want, for instance, our daughter was, you know, was kind of evacuating us without us there, and we're on the phone with her, and it was like, but you know, we just wanted her out of the house and in somewhere safe. Right. So it was just like very few things. That first night we have had the, I don't want to call it a blessing, because it is a blessing, but no one is blessed more than anyone else, or luckier than anyone else. It's like no one's unlucky, because you know, things happen. I've experienced a murder of someone in my family. I've experienced my father having a car accident and dying. You know, we've have tragedy. It is part of our lives, and we have to figure out ways to get through that. And I would say that something when Jefferson, you mentioned something to me, and I was like, the one word I say is time. That like it's such a cliche. Of course, time heals. Yeah. It's just like we have to create space and time, and with time and every day, it might get worse first, but it's going to eventually, you know, God willing, get better if you can breathe and if you can get the help you need psychologically with everything that's happening. And remember that, you know, you're loved. Remember that you have loved ones. Because for me, the Palisades was the brightest shining light in all of Los Angeles for me. I kind of stopped going east, and we were just going to the Palisades. We live in Santa Monica. We go to one of our streets in Santa Monica. We love to go to the Palisades. It was a beacon of light for our community, for so many. And people came from all over to go to the Palisades, even though it wasn't centrally located. It hurts, because to see a light snuffed out like that is just, you know, very painful for everybody. It wasn't just the people who live there. Right. A lot of people got energy from there, got that feeling. It felt safe. It was a safe place to go. It felt bright. It felt like a light. So it's a huge loss. And I just tell myself too, because that light is not shining like it normally does, but I know in time it will. And I do believe in the resilience of humans, and I believe in the goodness of humans, because so many people are doing so many good things, and we are basically that community, and so many wants to lift people up. So we just need to, I'm glad we have, you know, someone like Nathan Hochman, who's our DA. He's really taking seriously people who are going to try to take advantage of people in this situation. So I would just say time, breathe, believe, be well-intentioned, and have intention for yourself, and ask for help. Ask for help.
Ooh, that's a biggie.
So I guess that's mine.
Okay, so I'm just a few things you said is inspiring what I'm going to say. So asking for help is a big deal. I work with mental health support groups. So the first thing I want to share with our lovely audience, I think, is trauma is real. You said suffering, or whatever the word was that you used. We all have it. And allowing yourself to feel this, like you said, it's a crappy situation. You can find the light, but also don't be afraid to cry and go, this sucks. Yeah. And I maybe I did lose someone, you know, and in the Eaton fire, there's more of a death count than here, but still some, but gratefully, thankfully, not as many as could have, but still some people did perish.
Absolutely.
So feel your feels, but be around a support system. I think this is a common thing I think we're saying. There are people that care. There are people that you can ask for help. By the way, borrowing from Mr. Rogers, be a helper yourself. There are people we know who have been through this tragedy, lost, and are still showing up to help others. And by the way, in the mental health community, that is a huge coping mechanism, coping skill. So when you can give back, it actually helps you and them. And then lastly, I would say, and again, I think you touched on it, there is just, whenever there's a tragedy, there is misinformation. There are people trying to take advantage in a horrible way. And just to be wise, whatever finances you feel like, and we all feel compelled to give in a situation like this, make sure you don't fall for a scam. Make sure your money goes to something legit. And there are websites, government websites. FEMA has a website. I think the Red Cross is a safe
like
bet.
list all the good
You betcha.
places
So,
to donate.
so just beware. But the cool news, in my view, is those horrible actors are the minority. Most people want to do good. And that's certainly what we want to do, and we want to encourage you to do. So, Katrina, thank you for being our captain with Crazy Amazing Humans and doing this very special conversation. I appreciate you.
Thank you all for having me.
And Roger, thanks for
And
being
Roger,
with us.
thank you
Love you,
so
man.
much.
Thanks for having me.